So a question that I see a lot, and actually just popped up on the World Eaters Facebook group, regards what makes a competitive World Eaters list. I'm going to do my best to summarise it for you with the caveat that this is just my opinion, and I am by no means a well-credited competitive player, but I do spend a worrying amount of time discussing World Eaters, so I've got a little bit of expertise. First off, there is no list, not one. The best scoring World Eaters players this season have used various lists ranging from the wonderful Lord of Skulls and Triple Vindicator list mastercrafted by Mark Whitaker to Dylan Matusek's old school Berserkers in Rhinos chain axing their way through everything they touch, and dozens of variations in between. I'm going to go through what I think are key strategies for playstyle regarding the meta, then look at key units, and then summarise by what I think our strengths as World Eaters players are. So I won't be giving you a list, but hopefully I'll be drawing together a year of experimentation lessons to give you an idea going forward. So let's start with important strategic aspects. If we look at the core mechanics of the World Eaters, we can highlight a few things that we do quite well. Melee, movement jank, primary flipping, counter-offensive play, and focused shooting. Melee expertise speaks for itself. Our Legion trait, several stratagems and data slate buffs all focus on getting more rip for the tear. Being able to actually use this overkill is where mastering movement jankiness comes in, however. Between Apoplectic Frenzy, double fire activations, disembarks and the 6-inch consolidate, we have really niche ways to cover ground and close the gap so our combat can explode. Further to this, with Berserkers being OBSEC, using them correctly at critical moments can flip primary scores significantly, in some cases turning a 10-10 even to a 15-0 swing, which can and has been game changing. This itself is a symptom of wise counter-offensive play. I've maintained throughout all 9th edition that the counter-offensive is the way to master World Eaters. We hit like a truck, but it is a truck made of very sharp sticks. It will fall over to a stiff breeze. Therefore, timing assaults well to make sure we dictate the trade is vital. Finally, and it's always a controversial one, focus shooting. We all know now that Khorne gives us rerolls to fail hits within an inch of him, and this weirdly makes us one of the strongest Chaos Space Marine shooting factions. Being able to increase accuracy on a couple of ranged beasts is huge. However, it is only focus, not army-wide. So picking your shooting models to babysit Khorne is very important to maximise a devastating opening salvo, hopefully with enough intensity that the enemy cannot reduce the firebase for following rounds, allowing you to keep a backfield problem for them as your assault murders its way forwards. Okay, so next let's have a look at some key units that tend to cover one or more of these strategic aptitudes with some redundancy. Berserkers are an absolute must for your list, whether you only run one small squad or 4 larger squads. They are just a great unit when they pay off. Combining melee dominance with great movement shenanigans, the disembark, the double fight move, 6-inch consolidate, etc., as well as being awesome to flip objectives in the mid to late game. Second, Khorne. He's not an auto pick to be fair, as some lists do well enough with basic Lord rerolls, but he is a multiplier that is always worth considering. With 3+ being the main ballistic skill stat, getting rerolls on a third of your dice mathematically is wonderful. He's also a great support unit for your firebase as no one really wants to charge him, even if he often underperforms in combat these days. Raptors and Warp Talons do slightly different jobs, but as speedy infantry and often benefiting from a 9-inch pre-game move, they can be absolutely crucial. Talons typically slice and dice through an enemy brick unit, whereas Raptors will move block, perform actions, or lure opponents away from where you want them. They both combine combat, movement, and mission strength. And of course, transports. There's no right answer here except that you do want some transport. Rhinos can work, drills are just so bloody beautiful to play when they kick off. Dreadclaws and even the mighty Charybdis and Land Raider Achilles have seen success competitively. There's good arguments for the Proteus too. Essentially, you need resilience in your transports, regardless of whether it's toughness 8, speed and smokescreen, or the ability to deep strike. Keeping your troops a little more protected is vital for you to be able to play the mission and get the killiness you need from them. Okay, So we've looked at internal strategy and key units, neither are exhaustive lists by the way, so let's synergize these into a cohesive ideal and see what and how we can benefit most from them as World Eaters players. Lacking innate toughness, no second wound, no feel no pain, rare invulnerable saves etc, we have to mimic resilience with speed and skill. If we can't tank bolter fire, the best alternative and actually better than tanking is to not be in a position to be shot at all. Here we must couple our speed buffs as much as possible to do what we can to reduce enemy firepower. Frenzying jump troops to lock down heavy weapons or move block escape avenues is key, so I generally think having an alpha strike element is vital. I'd say dedicate around 10 to 15% of your points in a 2000 point game to this, around 200-300 points. Any more than this and you can suffer too much on poor terrain if you go second, or the matchup where there are no decent valid charge targets. More important than having an alpha strike option, however, is the ability to use it well. Don't be afraid to spend the CP on a Talon bomb and when going second, retreating that bomb backwards into cover. They will kill just as well on round 3 in the centre field as they would round 1 in the enemy DZ, as long as they're alive to do so. Having some sort of firepower to destabilise the enemy is also critical. I typically spend 400 to 800 points on solid shooting, whether in the form of the Lord of Skulls and Achilles, triple contemptors or what have you. Whilst having some small arms is nice, I found it's less necessary. If you can hide your big guns and force them to move first, by threatening them with alpha strikes or advancing transports, you can tip the balance, eliminate anti-tank threats, and then use the big guns for positional play and supplemental fire support. Personally, I like the Lord of Skulls and Achilles with Khorne, as it can provide strong shooting on both flanks, with the Lord of Skulls especially able to threaten the centre, whilst the Achilles and Khorne and Lightning Hawk chosen inside threaten the other. Demon Forge, Smokescreen and the Benediction of Darkness give both these models -1 to hit and some sort of rerolls in shooting. Having this fire support and a skirmishing alpha strike synergizes well with the most important aspect in my opinion, the mid-game charge. I feel that World Eaters played right gives up points early on typically. I think it's actually important to appear to cede ground turn 1 and 2 to invite the enemy out to play. That way your combat units can pounce and begin the bloodletting. For me, this almost always involves deep striking drills in round 2 and not disembarking any berserkers until round 3, giving them the full 9-inch disembark for generally easy charges, with better fire support from the drill. This doesn't always pay off, but when it does, about 2/3 of the time, it's often a coup de grace type move. Weakening your opponent and making them separate piecemeal is vital, as it allows you to dictate the game state and defeat in detail portions of their army. Use your speed to eliminate and or slow down a portion of their army, move blocking, consolidating into, slaughtering, however you have to do it. Support this by reducing or removing key targets with heavy accurate firepower. You can look at any army and recognise what will normally be positioning where. If you can remove a tanky backfield holder with your Lord of Skulls, they now have to reposition an otherwise useful infantry unit to screen out your drill, which is one less target for you to worry about. That's target priority efficiency. A tactic used by the Viet Cong in Vietnam for instance, they would shoot to injure one enemy, as that one shot then caused another soldier to take care of the wounded soldier, thus removing 2 from the fray instead of only 1 dead. So instead of killing that advancing combat unit, consider killing the backfield tank, so they have to then repurpose another unit, making it inefficient, and thus you profit so much more. This of course is a decision you need to make in the thick of it, not a general rule. Once you've destabilised and hemmed them in, you must now think 1 or 2 turns ahead and decide where you want your killing strike to land. Where can you bring your reserves, typically your melee infantry, in to do the most significant damage? A solid military maxim is always reinforce victory, never reinforce defeat. Now of course sometimes you have to sacrifice something to achieve an objective. We are playing with plastic toys, not real lives here, but it is nevertheless a good statement to consider. By overpowering one flank, you can often create a snowball effect where the tide can shift very overwhelmingly in your favour, by staggering assaults in vulnerable positions created by your alpha strike and shooting. I'm going to be a wee bit arrogant and quote myself here, but I once wrote that the essence of attack is to concentrate all momentum against one point, by which I mean find or create a weakness, and then exploit it with aggression. By using movement and shooting to alter the game state, you can then use our greatest tool, the fight phase, to capitalise on a destabilised enemy. Managing to combine offensive output with victory point generating manoeuvres is how World Eaters best win games. So ensure your game plan focuses on creating a situation where you can do that. Okay, that's enough for this one. I hope everybody had and is having a great holiday season, and that you pile the skulls high before the skull throne. So until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and kill main burn.